Hi, this is Miss Keys. This is number 5 on the Congruent Triangles review packet. It says, name the type of transformation that makes triangle DEF congruent to triangle TUV. Then list all congruent and corresponding sides and angles. So the first thing that I'm going to do is try and determine what type of transformation this is. And using this triangle congruent statement, I'm going to match up 2 of the coordinates, and I'm going to determine what type of transformation this is. So I'm going to match up D and T to try and figure out what type of transformation this is. So the coordinates for point D are -7, 5. And the coordinates for point T are -5, -7. So looking at the coordinates, I noticed that the x and y switch places. Because first in point D we have -7, but in point T the first number we have is a -5. What else I notice is we have -7 here, and it stays the same, and it's also -7 here. Then I notice, looking at the 5s, it's 5 here, but then it's the opposite of 5 when we did the transformation. So now thinking of my rules, I'm trying to figure out which one switches places, and then the y value is also the opposite in the transformation. What I notice is this is a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation. What happens is we take the opposite of our y value, which was the 5, and it becomes a -5, and we put that number first. Then we take the same x value and put that second. So now we know what type of transformation that was. That was a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation, so we answered part 1. Now part 2 says, list all congruent and corresponding sides and angles. What I'm going to use for this is, again, this congruent statement. And I'm going to look at the first 2 letters, which are D and T, and those first 2 letters are going to be corresponding and congruent angles. So my first pair is angle D and angle T. Then I'm going to look at the second letters, which is angle E is congruent to angle U. Looking at my third letters, I have angle F and angle V. So those are all my corresponding and congruent angles. Now I'm going to do all my corresponding sides. So I'm going to use the first 2 letters, which is DE is congruent to side TU. Then I'm going to use the second and third letter. EF is congruent to side UV. Then I'm going to use the first and third letter. DF is congruent to U. I'm sorry, it wasn't U. It was TV. And that is it. We found that this was a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation, and we found all corresponding and congruent sides and angles.